farcical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL network.
I couldn't be more excited, I must say.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Martin and Martin Short.
Yes, that is right. Welcome, everybody, to the Steve Martin and Martin Short, and of course, Brandi Carlile SNL Hot Take Show here on the Saturday Night Network. So excited to be with you tonight on what I consider a momentous occasion, having the legendary Steve Martin, and let's not forget Martin Short also hosting the show tonight.
Just slightly less legendary.
Slightly less legendary, but just still as legendary. Very fun to have them there together. So excited to get to talk about this. The 16th time for Steve, the 4th time for Marty. And we're here with two amazing panelists and all of you in the chat who decide to stay up late with us on this very fun evening. So cannot wait to get into all the sketches tonight. But introducing first, it is Kaley Morrison. Kaley, how are you?
I am great. I'm so excited to be here. Legendary legends. Oprah's Legends Ball tonight, really, of SNL.
100%. Yes, for sure. All right. Well, I mean, speaking of legends, got to bring this guy in for this big show. It is Andrew Dick. Andrew, how are you?
I'm doing well. So glad to finally be here for this. I mean, don't want to peer behind the curtain, but we were kind of waiting for this one. And so now we're finally here doing it. And I think, with all the lead up to it, I feel like it mostly succeeded. So happy to discuss this one.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, this is something that it was like kind of rumored around that this was going to be happening at some point in the fall. And I'm so glad that it finally did. So we're going to get into that a lot more on the roundtable this week, talk about, the history of Steve Martin on the show and Marty Short and all that stuff, really dive deep into why this episode is an important episode in terms of the history of SNL. But for tonight, we are here to break down all of the sketches that we saw this evening. But first, let's start with the hot takes or headlines from the evening. So overall thoughts, Kaley, over to you.
These guys know how to do TV. That they just know how to do it. They know what they're doing. It showed all throughout the night. They know how to do TV.
Oh yeah, they're for sure pros. Andrew, what about you? Any hot takes from the night?
Well, okay, the last time I was on the show was the hot takes, or no, sorry, the point counterpoint with TJ. Just a couple
the
weeks
last
ago.
real big show.
Yeah. But I had said I'd only really enjoyed one episode out of the sample size of 6 that we had. And now here I am, a couple weeks later. I enjoyed the Keke Palmer episode quite a bit, and I enjoyed this one. So hey, 2 back-to-back SNL episodes that I enjoyed from this season. And so I'm hoping that we are finding our groove for this season. And that is my hot take, is I feel like we're kind of hitting some good stuff.
Yeah, I'm feeling groovy tonight too. And I really felt that, I think here's my hot take for the night as I was watching the episode and watching these sketches. So Kaley said that they are pros. They're perfect for television. I really feel like, when you watch Steve and Marty together, the chemistry between the two of them just radiates off the screen. We'll get to the monologue in just a few minutes. But, the chemistry between those two is so strong that I wonder if the episode was a lot better because they were hosting together. And had you taken this exact episode and had just Steve Martin or just Martin Short, I don't think it works as well. But when you have this pairing between the two of them, and they're clicking so much in these sketches because they're just so used to performing together, it's like this magical pairing that we don't get to see every week on the show. And then I think that elevated a ton of sketches tonight.
Yeah, I mean, strangely, I would say that the back half is where it falls off for me, and that's where we have them separated.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Not a bad point.
Okay.
I completely agree with both of you on that. I think, they just sparkled. There was a spark between them, and you can tell they're friends. They've known each other forever, and it just was magic to watch them together.
Yeah, and I would argue that this is a good reason for more duos to host SNL
Yes.
together, especially ones with chemistry. Because I think that, especially in an era where the cast has been around for so long, we've seen a lot of the same beats. It is very refreshing to get a duo coming in together who has that chemistry and adding something new to the mix. So I'd love to talk about that more throughout the week. But let's get into the sketches that we saw tonight. And here we go. We get our cold open for the evening, and SNL titled this the Blocking It Out for Christmas cold open, where we open up on Cecily Strong, Bowen Yang, and Kenan Thompson singing songs about hiding your anxieties away as it is December. Christmas is coming up. Sarah and Ego come in and join them. We get Devin coming in as a Grubhub guy as well at some point, and they all sing about, delaying all of their stresses into January, into the new year. And it finally wraps up with Mikey Day as Santa. And then, of course, we get our live from New York from Cecily Strong. I will say 900th SNL sketch for Cecily Strong, which is a pretty big number, creeping up there towards 1,000. Only 3 people have ever hit 900. So we got Kenan Thompson, Phil Hartman, and Cecily Strong. So congrats to Cecily on that.
Wow.
Yeah, very impressive. But Kaley, how do you feel about the cold open that we saw tonight?
I thought the cold open was fine. This might be a little bit of a hot take, but I was thinking about this earlier. Just like comedy in general, I'm kind of cool if I know anxiety is a lot of our experience. It's definitely mine. I'm kind of cool if we kind of put a pin in anxiety humor for a while. I thought it was fine. I related to it. But I feel like there's so many jokes about our anxieties, and again, it resonates, but I feel like it's like a trend. I almost think it's time to find another or a new trend.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Andrew, what do you think?
I thought this was mostly fine to see. Now, my experience, and I feel like it's popping up in chat a little bit. Now I am on the East Coast, but I don't have television. I don't have live TV fed into my television. So I watch actually the show through a thing called Puffer, which is, I believe, a Stanford thing that it was like a student project, and they left it up, and you can just watch the West Coast feed of all the major networks. And it was it basically just supposed to be set up to figure out streaming numbers and stuff, and it's still there. And the show started, and I was like, why is everything wildly out of sync right now? Is this just me? What's happening? And so I went into a frenzy because of I'm not just watching this one. I have a show to do, it's I have to understand what's happening right now. And I eventually learned that other people were having this problem as well. I think, people in the central time zone to, the West Coast were having this problem. And rabbit ears. So live audio sync issues, which was pretty shocking. I feel it's been a while since something like that has happened. So I couldn't really parse this as much as I wanted to, but it seemed cute. I will give it credit for just letting go of any political cold open. I didn't want to drudge through that. So at least it did that of okay, let's just do something fun and run through that. It was a song, a song and all that stuff. And as Kaley said, the whole anxiety stuff has been really kind of, we've hit that button way too many times, but it seemed fun from what I can tell with a 5-second delay of what was going on. So, I feel like I can barely comment on it because I was in crisis mode of is this happening to anybody else? Is this just me? Is this just the internet? Is this Puffer? What's happening?
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people had a similar problem. But for me with this cold open, I don't know if it was I had a weird experience with it where I felt that the execution was better than the concept, which is not something you usually see. I felt the idea was so okay, but then like watching it, it was better than I thought it would be. So
No,
like
performances were great.
I will say this.
Yeah.
I feel like that is what we're kind of hitting on with this season as it goes along, is that I feel like the execution of a lot of things are a lot better than they are on page. And that's what I'm kind of finding, is that the performances will put things over than the written word. And so this cold open might be another notch in that belt.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to do on purpose, but it's just that like I think this is the result of whatever chemistry is working at the show. But I think things like Andrew, I agree that this has definitely been the best run of the season so far. And so some interesting points. So cold open written by Colin Jost, Ken Supplett, and Allison Gates tonight. Cut from Dress was also a few different people in this cold open. Punky Johnson, who was supposed to come in and play Brittany Griner, talking about how it took her 10 months to be free from prison. Chloe Fineman was supposed to come in as Britney Spears for a line about Free Britney. And Andrew Dismukes was supposed to come in to sing a line about Hunter Biden. And then the music was going to stop and he's asked to leave. So they actually...
these all seem like fine cuts to me. Yeah.
Right. So here's the interesting thing that I think also works for this, which is I don't want to see people necessarily cut from the show in certain instances, but cutting down this cold open significantly, that's a positive thing. So I'm okay with that.
No doubt.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll break that down more throughout the week. But let's talk about what we're all here for, where the monologue, and in come Steve Martin and Martin Short. Steve Martin hosting for the 16th time, the first time since 2009. Martin Short comes in for his 4th time. Former cast member, hasn't hosted since 2012. And they come out there and they're talking about all the times that they've hosted. We had some fun bits where they're going and flashing back to all the times, and very long flashes for Steve, very short flashes for Marty. And then really cute photo of Steve with Mick Jagger and John Belushi and Danny Aykroyd. So that was great. But then
they caught all the diseases that night.
Exactly. But then the pièce de résistance, whatever it is, the best part of the monologue was, for me, them writing each other's eulogies. And this was fantastic just to see. I love some of the lines here. I don't want to steal them from Andrew and Kaley as they talk about their favorites, but when it comes back to me, I'll find anything else that they didn't talk about. But there's so much here that I love. So Andrew, what did you enjoy about tonight's monologue?
Oh Lord. Oh well, this really gets into my not really taking notes for this hot take show. But so many choice lines when we finally roll into the comedic heft of this monologue. And it just so perfectly, as the monologues have been doing lately, just establishes the energy between these two. And the energy between these two is lifelong friends, mostly at this point. I think the first time they're both on screen is, the Three Amigos, but Steve has been part of that whole scene from the beginning, and so as Martin, it's like I feel like Martin Short was another one where he's like he could have been part of the original cast of either SNL or SCTV, but he was just kind of busy within those years, and then eventually joined SCTV and then SNL afterwards. But I love this. It was brilliant. Just like it was a very kind roasting between friends, just like it felt very familiar, or not familiar, but like in a family sense of like just roasting your friends. And it's like, what was it like? Steve just immediately coming out like, "Wow, small turnout tonight." Like that stuff like that. Just like it was a roast in a very fun way between the both of them, and it worked 100% for me.
Yeah, it was like a light heat. Like it wasn't too hot tonight, but they did very good with this. And then our friend Bill Kenny in the chat points out that this is something that they have done on their tour in the past. So I think it's fun that they brought this to the show as well for everybody else to see it. Kaley, how did you feel about what you saw from the monologue tonight?
I loved the monologue. I think it was so perfect, or close to perfect. Even the visuals of the little video montages of the hosting was just a great nostalgic moment. I agree. The eulogies were amazing. I could watch these two jab each other all day, every day. Yeah, I mean, it was it's like what Andrew was saying about like the thing between friends and like the friendly jabs. And Steve Martin even talks about this. I forget the source, but he talks about like, there's laughter like from a punchline where there's a rhythm and the rhythm to laugh, and there's laughing organically between you and your friends. And these two are able to marry those two things together when they're working together. I love the line about Steve saying, or was it Steve? Talking about the Tesla.
Yeah. Well, those were Marty's last
Right.
words. Was, like what? Autopilot engage.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then two, when Marty said, oh shoot, what was it? It went out of my head. Like the classic SNL sketch, Dick in a Box.
That was my favorite.
And Marty's just like, oh, Steve. Like, the very forced. Oh, it's so good.
It's so good. Yeah, the seeing you in your casket reminds me of Dick in a Box. It was really great. Absolutely love that. And also, I really enjoyed the Steve line. You're only sexually active if batteries are in the house. That was another good one. But this was good. I could have watched this for so long. Absolutely love
That's
this
why
monologue.
they have a Broadway show, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, knocked it out of the park. My friend, and I'll say this for fun. My friend Rich Tackenberg would say, what the hell was SNL thinking bringing out Selena Gomez for just a gratuitous hello, only to kill the fact that she's in the building, no pun intended, and then ruin the surprise later on in the evening? Totally unnecessary. Like, there was no bit. I'm like, yeah, sure, it's fun for social media having the three of them standing there. I get that. But like,
yeah, I guess it does kind of ruin the reveal of the sketch that happens like an hour and a half later in a sense. But yeah, it does feel unneeded of her like, hey, but you could do things with me anyway. Great show tonight.
Yeah,
like,
it was weird. It was. I suspect that maybe there was more to that part that got cut down, because even like her appearance in the final The Father of the Bride sketch like didn't really do much for me. Like, it was, like, here she is, cool, yay, we get to see her again. But even that wasn't like a big, exciting.
Yeah, I feel
moment.
like if they wanted to save the Selena Gomez cameo, they should have hidden it, because I feel most people were like expecting it. That was
right.
If any cameo was going to happen, that's the expected one. So to have her just come out and we're going to have a great show, and just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, our friend Ellis is in the chat. He was also at dress rehearsal tonight, so I got some fun bits from him that we'll talk about. But Ellis says when she came on for dress, she said they had no way to finish the monologue, so she was just going to be the one to take us to break. So yeah, I mean, look,
it felt that way. Yeah, no,
yeah,
doubt.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, look, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna die in this hill. It's not that big of a deal. But I would just say, like, for a really good monologue, like, I'm gonna nitpick that a little bit.
But I will fight Rich on that.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll also say, like, yeah, there could have been a way to incorporate Selena roasting Steve and Marty. I think we could have done that. She's clearly a very talented host that we saw in the spring. So
that would have been fun.
Like that would have been very fun.
Yeah, if we were going to bring her out for the monologue, then that would have been the route. But
yeah. Okay, let's talk about the science room. And I feel like they only bring this out on big nights, but we have our fourth science room that we got first with Sam Rockwell, then with Adam Driver. Last year, a very famous The Science Room with Jason Sudeikis. And now we have it with Steve Martin and Martin Short, where we get the return of Lonnie and Josh, played by Cecily and Mikey, and two teachers here coming in. And we get all of the fun bits between them, where a lot of interesting wordplay. And if you know me, you know I like my wordplay. So for me, this was great. We don't get recurring sketches in this era of the show. And the fact that this is the one that they keep going back to on big nights works for me every single time. I've never felt like this didn't feel fresh. So Kaley, let me start with you on this one. How did you enjoy the science room tonight?
I liked it. I completely agree with you, John. Every time I see it, it works for me. I've never seen it flop. It's a good formula, which, usually I don't want to use the word formula. It doesn't sound like a fun thing, but it works in this case. The biggest laugh for me in this particular one, it's always going to be Cecily in general, but also specifically when she mentions something sexual that her older sister tried to teach her. And then that was great. That was hilarious in and of itself. But then when Marty said that, and by the way, your sister is absolutely right, that just knocked me out.
Oh, that was so good. Yes. I can't even get into it, but that line threw me. Like I was laughing so hard at that. Andrew, how did you feel about what you saw from the science room?
Yeah, I mean, these are, as you said, very rare to have a reoccurring sketch in this era of SNL, and they basically just trot this out once a year, which is a good way to go about it. And I would say of the three, this is probably the least, because having the two hosts there, I was hoping for some dynamic between Steve and Marty that would have butted up, against each other. But they're mostly like on the same page. And I mean, I guess Marty does get a little bit more frustrated than usual, or he's the one that explodes. But I do feel like there was a beat missed because we had two hosts within the sketch. But that is all of that aside. These still kill for me. I was laughing all the way through. I love how lived in both Cecily and Mikey's characters are. Like they just nail it so hard. And I don't I don't know what they're tapping into, but even from the first with the Sam Rockwell, like they just know these characters and they are tapping into them like it's like just something from the gods. Like they're so in character in a way that I don't see on SNL very much, and got a lot of good laughs, a lot of good gags still to be mined from this. I mean, we're 5 years out from the first time it appeared, and 4 or 5 years, and there's still gags to be mined from this whole situation. And so enjoyed it quite a bit.
I do feel like the interesting idea of putting this in the episode is that the sketch is so strong that the main things you take away is the interplay between Mikey Day and Cecily Strong and their responses to the hosts in this sketch. So it's really more of a Mikey and Cecily sketch, and it's not really a Steve and Marty sketch. And that's interesting to do that off the bat when you're so excited to see the host. So I would say like it's a little bit of a caveat.
But no, I feel like the hosts have been so definitive in these sketches. When you think of, and actually I kind of forgot about the Jason Sudeikis one, because I feel like Sam Rockwell and Adam Driver were so as locked in. So much that, like Sam Rockwell dropped the F-bomb because he was just so into character that I feel like, Marty and Steve were not as locked in, but
I agree.
Yeah.
But I actually agree with that, and I think Jason was like very memorable for other reasons, which was like his blooper that we all got to see that he made as well, where he called Lonnie the wrong name and then starts yelling. That's like a very famous thing that I'll always remember from season 47. But look, I think I really like the sketch. I think the sketch works. I do think that this is, like I said, Cecily and Mikey to me are the highlights of this sketch. So in a night where I'm looking for Steve and Marty, it is an interesting thing, but maybe that's not such a bad thing, right? Like this is the one exception that I'm talking about where I could see chemistry working between cast members and the hosts in this case. And I did enjoy this a lot. So I'm excited to see if this is ever going to happen again. If this is the end for Cecily or Mikey, this is probably it. And I would say that this could be my favorite recurring sketch from this era of the show, where there's not many to choose from.
Again, very rare, and a good selection for a reoccurring sketch.
Yeah. Well, very early in the night, in my opinion, which I can't remember a PDD short happening this early in the night, but I guess they love this one, where we get Please Don't Destroy coming in for their 11th.
Go to Kaley.
Yeah, sure. All right. Okay. Well, on that note, PDD, we have our 11th Please Don't Destroy short called Chelsea, where the boys are sitting in the office and John Higgins is talking about his ex Chelsea. Do you remember my ex Chelsea? And then Marty and Ben are just talking, not Marty Short, but Marty Herlihy and Ben Marshall are talking about how much she sucks. And then they're just ripping her. And it turns out that John is dating her again, and she happens to be in the room. And then we get the bit of the sketch where people just keep popping in. So first Sarah Sherman pops in, then we hear no, they're really talking about Courtney, which is the other ex. Chloe pops in, then we get some stenographer, which is sort of not really Steve Martin's wife, but Steve Martin pops in. Marty Short pops in and gets mad when they say that Steve is their favorite host. Che pops in. We rarely get Michael Che in any sketch, but here you go, he's in the sketch. Then Hurley ends up getting fired and everybody leaves, and in pops Sarah Sherman's real dad to kill Martin with a sword. This was really fun. Kaley, how'd you feel about it?
I like this one. I thought it had a really great build to it. I will say when he first said Chelsea the first few times, I thought they were saying jealousy. I thought it was like some weird kind of like metaphor, like, oh, my ex-girlfriend jealousy. I'm like, that's a little on the nose, but I realized they were saying Chelsea. But yeah, I thought it had a great like build and escalation to it that just really worked all the way up. The visual of Michael Che being behind the door was just, I don't know why that tickled me so much. I guess I just love seeing Michael Che outside of the update desk. I love him on the update desk, but I'm always someone being behind the door. I don't know why that was funny to me, but I liked it. I think it had a good build. You know, I like Please Don't Destroy generally. This is one that I liked a little bit more than some of the others. So yeah, I just Steve Martin, that's my wife, like the defensiveness. And I knew as soon as I saw that, I was like, that has to be Sarah Sherman's real dad. I just knew it.
Yeah, he's a scary
He did
dude.
great.
I mean, you don't want to mess with
He
him.
was intimidating.
Yeah. You know, when I heard that Steve and Marty were going to be hosting tonight, I said to myself, I was like, Please Don't Destroy has to do something with them. Like, there's just no way that you can't. And it sort of reminds me of, you know, back in the day in 2006, one of the first digital shorts they started airing, and you know, we got Lazy Sunday and Lettuce, and like those were the first couple. But then, you know, soon after we had one where Steve Martin was the host of the episode and back in season 31, and then he did this like 2 inches digital short where him and Will Forte were like talking like right up to each other's faces. And I'm a huge Will Forte fan, so I absolutely love that one. And I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, how cool was that like early in the days of the digital shorts they got Steve Martin in one, and like I'm just excited for the Please Don't Destroy guys that they're able to get Steve Martin and Martin Short here, let alone the fact this was a really good pre-tape. Andrew, how do you feel about it?
I'm of two minds of this, actually. I will agree that there was a good escalation, but also there wasn't enough time to sit in moments. Like it was kind of working on, you know, the cringy humor, if you want to put it in that basket. And so I feel like the rapid fire pace of a PDD didn't quite work on the level of embarrassment that they were trying to put over on each beat, but they are still very good at escalation. And that is, you know, I feel a thing that a lot of SNL writers still don't quite have yet is how to properly escalate. And so, yeah, as Kaley said, Che just randomly being behind the door, and then, you know, just teaching the ABCs, always be kind. Like,
oh yeah, that was great.
That coming from Che is very good. And then, yeah, if that is indeed Sarah's dad, the capper to it all, where he comes in with the collapsible baton ready to strike, was a hearty laugh at the very end. But I felt like it felt at odds with itself, like it wanted to live in these moments more, but was still forced into the high speed escalation of a Please Don't Destroy sketch. And so it didn't really fully come together for me.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was very high on this, and every single week I've been getting something from Sarah Sherman that I've absolutely loved. I've been, you know, saying I think she's the next star of this show. And you know, which isn't a crazy hot take, but I just think that, like, you know, we haven't had a star like her come around in a while. And I think the fact that we got potentially like her real dad in the show tonight was like another like thing that was fun. It's just like every episode we're getting something really fun from her, and I love that she's integrated into this. Please,
and like I've said, like I feel like her most dynamic performances are in the Please Don't Destroy sketches.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, well, next up we have a sketch called Holiday Train, written by Ken Sublett and Allison Gates. And this is a train where a sketch on a train where Cecily, Keenan, Steve, and Marty are all sitting together at a booth singing about snow. And we get the classic Keenan's confused by the lyrics and turns into a song and dance number where the set disassembles and they show that they're actually singing in front of woods because it turns out they are from the woods, as James Austin Johnson describes as the conductor, because they're really bears and their one wish was to turn into humans and ride the train to Buffalo to see snow. So
Many
Andrew,
layers.
yeah, how did you enjoy this one?
Oh boy. I mean, as I feel like a couple people in chat have pointed out, this is apparently a reference to a song that is in the film White Christmas. And if you don't know that, and you don't, apparently, the song itself is pretty ridiculous within itself. This is what I'm getting from people shouting back at me. And yes, we also the singing sisters from the Amy Adams, we're the raccoons and stuff. So we're basically kind of doing a rewrite on that sketch. And that's just like, it felt very under rehearsed. Like a lot of people were jumping in a little bit too early on their verses, a lot of breaking because it just felt like chaos. Like Marty the Steve broke, which caused Marty to break. It just felt very unfocused and chaotic, but not in a good way for me. Like this just felt like nobody was on the same page. Nobody quite knew what they were doing. And then the whole bear reveal was just like, okay, this is a beat too far for me. And so this was the first miss for the episode, but I'm still like rolling with the punches. Like, okay, this is a typical SNL miss for me, so I can roll with this one. But yeah, very baffled by it.
Kaley, were you as baffled or did you enjoy what we got to see tonight from the Holiday Train?
There were points of bafflement, I would say. The visual I immediately recognized as a reference from the movie White Christmas. And that was just a reference is always fun for me. So I like that. I like the visual of it. I thought the performances were good. There was some like stumbly bits where there was like some awkward stepping on each other's lines and stuff like that. The song from the movie, if anyone else is not familiar, it's a weird, silly old song, and
what is the song? What is the name of the song? I do kind of want to hear it now.
I believe it's called Just Snow. I think it's
Just
called Snow. And they didn't change the lyrics that much. I thought it was funny. There is like a line, I washed my hair, my face, my something else, and Cecily said, my ass was snow, and that was just I don't know. That made me LOL. But yeah, I thought it was fine. I thought the performance was good. I didn't mind them breaking. Some people I mind when they break, I guess, because they don't seem committed. But like Martin Short and Steve Martin, I could definitely forgive them. So that was fine. I don't know. It was kind of, there was parts I liked of this one. There were parts I was like, I don't know. I didn't mind. I saw someone say in the chat that they thought they were going to be squirrels. I also thought they were going to be squirrels. But the bears are the big heads. That was funny. I thought James Austin Johnson, while a smaller role, did well. So yeah, this one's kind of middle of the road. It was an interesting choice that I'm kind of surprised made it, but it was fine for me.
This did nothing for me. I mean,
have you seen the movie?
Wow, the classic Andrew Dick line. This did nothing for me from Jon Schneider. I love it.
I really wonder if seeing the movie affects,
I really do. And like, that's my whole thing with like a good parody or satire or something, is that you should still be able to enjoy it without having the basis of like,
Totally.
I saw Spaceballs before I'd seen a single Star Wars movie, but I loved Spaceballs, so like I feel the fact that you really need to understand snow for this to hit at all for you, which happens a lot with the Cecily Sublett
True.
collaborations where you really need to know the subject matter for it to actually hit for you.
Snow the subject matter. Yeah.
I didn't hear what you said, but yes, John.
Lots of snow talk tonight, and I would say, okay, here's what was happening. So I was watching this sketch, and no, I have not seen the movie. I'm not familiar with the source material here, but I still tried to enjoy the sketch, and I think there are moments. However, again, this is just me and the way that I watch SNL, and I know that a lot of our listeners and our viewers, they watch Saturday Night Live with the keen eye like me in this sense, where I was watching this sketch, I kept thinking to myself, like, go backstage. Like, that's what we want. Like, we want you to break open the set and then walk backstage and turn this into something meta. And like, that's, the thing where it's like, did they? Because I mean, they broke open
they
to the
did
woods.
they broke away the train set.
I know, but there was something like, look, and again, this is probably my fault for like going back and watching all the Steve Martin episodes this week and like making myself excited for the episode, but just like the not going to phone it in tonight, all the stuff where it's just like, you just want something that's like, there's just so many times where, Steve Martin has walked around, like talked to the new cast members and like just been, as Marty described in the monologue, just looked down upon them and stuff like that. And I just feel like there was a way to like break open the sketch and then like go into the world of Saturday Night Live.
Well, if they had more sort of self-reflection, somebody could have stopped it halfway through and was like, does this make sense to anybody that doesn't know this song?
Yes.
Like maybe something like that, where it's like, is this making any sense to anybody? And now they're bears. But then that would mean a sketch writer would have to admit that their sketch makes no sense. So,
but anyways, I did like that they turned into bears at the end. I did like that part. I think
why
that was, like,
though?
funny.
Why was
I like
that
the visual?
funny?
The visual was funny to me. Yeah, just how they came back.
fair
I
enough.
think so too.
Yeah. Maybe I'm like punch drunk, but like I just thought it was funny. All right, so then we get this this bumper for next week, which breaking news, we find out that next week is no longer Austin Butler and Yaz. It's it's Lizzo who's coming up next week. And then we get a message from them they put out on social media. So again, if you're not on social media, I'll just do the favor and read out the post from the Yaz. As many of our fans know, Nick has had pneumonia over the past month, and it's been up and down recovery process. The band's top priority is supporting Nick through a full recovery. As a result, we had to pull out from our engagement of Saturday Night Live. YYYs have enjoyed the incredible highs of being supported and the huge honor of being chosen to close out SNL's 2022. We are deeply thankful and unexpectedly heartbroken we cannot rise to this occasion. Tough week. Thank you for your understanding and well wishes. It means the world to us. Wishing you a healthy and happy rest of 22. And we're looking forward to a strong return in 2023. I have to assume different circumstances, but like Charlie XCX didn't get an opportunity to be the musical guest last season, and then they brought her back in the spring. I have to assume they're going to bring back sometime in the spring. So yeah, as the chat says, wishing them well. Thank you, James, in the chat for that. But we get Lizzo, who's going to come on next week, which should be fun, and I hope to get Lizzo in a sketch.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that replacement, but just in terms of keeping the musical guest eclectic, it did feel like that was a bit of a loss. So
yes. Oh yeah, thank you. Also. Yeah, James in chat too says Roddy Ricch as well. I had a situation like that last year. I forgot about that. Okay. After the break, we get a new sketch called Mall Meeting with Santa, where Steve Martin is here as Santa, Marty is an elf, Bowen as a mall employee. We get appearances by Chloe and Andrew and Ego as Sarah and Sarah as kids. Lots of interesting back and forth in this one. Marty keeps kicking kids out for different reasons, and we get some bloopers from Marty. Steve ends up pointing them out. So like a little bit of a breakdown of the sketch here. Kaley, how did you feel about Mall Meeting with Santa?
It was not my favorite. I did have some laughs. I thought particularly Sarah as her kid character shined in this one. I thought Bowen, he had a nice mugging moment. So he made this really funny face towards the end. Martin did a great job being angry. He also I could relate to him because he was trying to break down some of the Santa logic, I think, at points, and some of the maybe common, like, come on, Santa, like, stand up for yourself, But it was fine. It wasn't the most memorable by far for me tonight. I like a Christmas sketch at Christmas time, so the visuals were fun. But yeah, there was I think Sarah Martin Short and Bowen were the stars of this one.
Andrew, how do you feel about what you saw from Mall Meeting with Santa?
Loose but fun. I felt like this one didn't really have an end game. You basically got Martin Short doing his best dwarf. Just you got that going on. Steve is Santa, and you're bringing on various kids to talk about stuff, and like, it didn't really feel like it was going towards any place. And so the whole speed thing was very odd at the very end. A lot of people bringing up that Sarah reminded them of Gilda. And when this started, it actually, I think they did it in the season 3 Christmas episode with Bill and Gilda. It was a thing that started even all the way back in the National Lampoon Radio Hour. And I feel like, it was a whole thing between Bill Murray as Santa and Gilda as the kid on his leg asking for presents. And I feel like Sarah specifically was trying to hit Gilda's voice, her take within this sketch. And I don't know if that was a reference, but, as many people have said, like very Gilda-esque performance there. So I feel like that's what she's going for. I think this one, without the gaffes and the ad-libbing of it's like, oh my God, you have legs to Marty. It wouldn't really have come across as well. But it was, again, very loose and chaotic in a fun way that I was not terribly mad at it. But on paper, kind of a nothing sketch, to be honest.
Yeah, the sketch you're referring to, by the way, did happen in that episode, and that would be the Mescal Spillman episode of SNL. Yeah. Very famous episode back in the day where the host was voted on. So, this is fun. I mean, I think this section of the show is the section that we can talk about being the Steve and Marty variety hour, where they're getting to have some fun with each other, and we'll talk about that in the pre-tape. That's about
not
to
a
come
gaff.
up.
Ellis says not a gaff. That was planned.
Oh,
I feel like that is.
Does it change your opinion on the sketch?
It actually does. I really thought that those were live, improvised lines. That actually kind of.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I mean, you're not really supposed to know this information. This is the only stuff that you get by coming over here.
Boy,
so
you ruined this, Ellis. Just.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know. That's kind of ugly if they're like trying to like have planned, moments like that. I don't know about that.
All right. Well, just imagination. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to this pre-tape that I'll say this was my favorite part of the night. I absolutely love this pre-tape, A Christmas Carol, where Ebenezer Scrooge, Marty Short, wakes up from his dreams, yelling and just so happy to be alive, and then goes to the window to Sarah Sherman and says, "Hey, little kid, go ahead and buy a goose," and just flicks the coin out the window, and it just goes and goes right into the boy's, I guess Sarah's playing boy in the sketch, boy's eye, or is it boy or girl, and just goes right into the kid's eye, and then just keeps happening, and just everybody, it's just a lot of pain because coins keep flying everywhere, ice picks. Steve Martin comes in as the ghost of Christmas past, but nobody can see Steve, so everybody's only blaming Marty for this, which to me was like the funniest throwaway line. I'm in love with this pre-tape. I can't wait to go watch it. This to me was like the type of thing that I was looking for from the show tonight. Andrew, how do you feel about it?
Oh my God, it was a masterpiece. I loved this. I mean, speaking of escalations, this one earns it so hard. And, I guess you got to be into the Sarah square. I assume Sarah had a heavy hand in this, and probably, Please Don't Destroy. If we're going to, it's like a healthy, gory, violent escalation to this all. And I mean, I gotta go revisit too, because like there was a thing with Molly that was funny. Mikey getting his head kicked off, like
I forgot about Tiny Tim falling down the sewer. I'm sorry, it just that was so funny.
That too. It felt like the goodbye, Mr. Bunting, or farewell,
Yes,
Mr.
Professor
Bunting
Bunting,
sketch.
exactly. Yeah. All-timer.
Escalated like 3 times. And I loved it. Just cackling the entire time. By far and away the highlight of the episode. Loved it. Absolutely adored it.
Yeah, unexpected gore works for me, and Farewell, Mr. Bunting to me is a top 5 Saturday Night Live sketch of all time, and I think that this was so.
But
good.
I just love this one establishes the gore and then continues on. Like Mr. Bunting, like, you know, that was the gag, and then it just like very quickly chaos after that, and it ends. But this starts with the gore and then continues on for like 3 more minutes.
Yeah, and also there's that like to culminate on everything. They like Marty like closes the windows at some point. And you see all the glass shatter, and there's like blood is like flying up from beyond the window. This is amazing. Kaley, how did you like this?
Oh, I feel like such a.
Bring it on.
I know the gore is not my cup of tea, like ever, and I want to like it because like other people like it so much, and I'm like, oh, I love that they love this so much. But like the goodbye or farewell, Mr. Bunting, like also I'm like, oh my god, I just can't do the gore. I can't.
But this is okay because you're speaking to an audience that like there are many people out there, many of our listeners who might feel the same way as you. So I'd rather you just tell us how you really feel about it.
No, same with scary movies. Like I want to like them. Like there seems to be something in there that's enjoyable, but just I can't do it. It scares me. It really like it scares me. But the production value of this was amazing. Like I thought it was like stunning to look at. I thought Martin Short as Scrooge was hilarious, and Steve had some great moments as Christmas present as well. And Molly was another one. Just their voice, I think, lent itself to this time period very well. But yeah, like the chopping off of heads and the blood and the can't do it.
I'm so there for it. Yes. Merry Christmas.
It's scared. I'm gonna have a bad dream tonight.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not real. So, like, you know, when you're watching this, I know
you don't
like,
say.
Like, Tiny Tim didn't really go down the sewer, but yeah, I cannot wait to rewatch this one. And to me, this is definitely, you know, going into one of the best sketches of the season, if not the best for me.
And this was the one sketch where we did kind of get to see, like, I don't think we saw Longfellow at all.
Not at all tonight. First time we've had a shout out the entire season.
But yeah, we did see Molly, and we did see Marcello, yes. Yes, him eating it as well. Got a good chuckle for me as well. So it was nice to see them within the mix of what I thought was like, yeah, this is going to be reran in the Christmas specials. Possibly. I don't know. It may be too violent.
I don't know if it's primetime material.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. But
yeah, I hope so.
It's a classic in my heart. I
would agree. So then we have a Brandi Carlile coming in for her performances. Andrew, any word on Brandi Carlile? I think you're a fan, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. Bonus points for sure. Brandi smashed it. And apparently this first song, and like I have to admit, not the big, it's like I'm not within the mix of the Brandi Carlile fandom. So apparently this first song is like nearly a decade old or more. And so
called The Story.
Yeah, amazing. Both songs, amazing. Loved Brandi. Just after so many performances in the season, musical performances of like people behind projected screens, and you can barely see the band doing anything, to just see Brandi and her band come out and just crush it and be live. Amazing. Yeah, definitely. Just I'm a person where the musical guest matters to my overall score, and she definitely got over on this one for sure.
Kaley, any word on Brandi?
She sounded amazing. Just vocally, the music itself, it just Her genre of music or Brandy's genre of music is not my. I stopped caring about music when Prince died, to be honest. So that was the death of.
Wow.
No, not literally, but I
You have a long life left to live, Kaley. I hope you just.
I know.
Please
I
listen to
know.
music, Kaley.
I know. It just when he went away,
Ginger root.
it died
Listen
for
to
me.
Ginger root.
Okay.
So good.
Okay. But Brandy sounded amazing. I thought it made me sit up and pay attention. And normally I do zone out a little bit during musical performances, but this one I was like, whoa, Brandy sounds good.
Yeah. No,
All
she was
right.
bringing it. I loved it.
Still thinking about that Goodnight Sweet Prince. So yeah, it's crazy. Okay, let's talk about Weekend Update. And tonight, I thought we got some good jokes from Jost and Jay tonight. They were, I feel like, on their game and hyped up for the Steve and Marty episode. So I think they were great. And then we had two different update correspondents that came out, or two different sets. First was Ego Wodim, who comes out as a chaotic shopper known as Mary Ann Louise Fisher. Kaley, how do you feel about Ego tonight?
I like this character. I think it could easily translate into other things in the future. It was reminiscent of people in my family. Ego, when she plays like desperate and over it, she nails that. So I like this character, and I would like to see it again in a different scenario.
Andrew, did you enjoy what you saw from Ego tonight?
Oh, absolutely. I love, almost everything Ego does. And this is another one where I felt like you can really, I don't know how she workshopped it per se, but it's another one where it felt very like I could see her on Comedy Bang Bang or on a stage improving as this character. And, this is just a written version of that character. But it's loose enough where like it does feel like an improv stage character just given words to say, and it worked for me. It was great. I love Ego, and this is a perfect vehicle for her, especially as you say, like just a woman at her at the end of her rope always is where she's at. And a lot of good details in this. So a win for me, for sure.
My favorite part of this was her saying that she can't be a Karen because she's black. And that was just the commentary on that was so much fun, and the interplay. So I really...
That's what I'm saying.
Really,
it feels like so improv-y, where it's like it's switching lanes so often. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Did enjoy this. And then we get Mikey Day and Chloe Fineman coming in as Kurt and Deb from Wyoming, who wrote a book on spicing things up in the bedroom. And basically this is a vehicle for Chloe Fineman impressions, where we get Drew Barrymore, Anna Delvey, Meryl Streep. Che asks if she does any black ones, which was funny. Then we get this really funny bit between Mikey and Chloe and Colin, where they're talking about Scarlett Johansson, which I think is something that I thought that worked for me. And then Mikey does Stewie, Mr. Burns, and Shaggy. So Andrew, how do you feel about what you saw from Chloe and Mikey tonight?
Oh boy, this is the first major misstep of the episode, and I feel
you have it out for Chloe, eh?
I don't want to say that, but Chloe doesn't quite work for me, and this felt very hamstrung. This felt like, honestly, to me, like the Melissa Villaseñor Dirty Talk sketches, but now we're just repurposing them into updates. And we're already doing impersonations she's already done. And so I don't know. The show wants Chloe to happen, and it's not happening. And Mikey didn't do anything. Like the whole thing was
Can I push back on something for you? Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Did you enjoy Abby Elliott's time on the show?
Ooh. I don't even think Abby liked her time on the show.
No, that's not what I'm asking. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking for you. Did you enjoy Abby's time on the show?
No, she wasn't utilized correctly. Okay. No,
I mean, she
had
is basically Abby Elliott.
Maybe in a sense, yeah. And
Like really
But
good.
I don't know. I
impressions,
felt like Abby had more to give that the show wasn't letting her do. Whereas I feel this is exactly what Chloe wants to do, and it's just not hitting. And you know, but I don't know. I don't want to get too negative, so I'm just going to say that this didn't work for me. I don't want to like slam Chloe. If you enjoy this, that's fine. But it felt very desperate and hamstrung, the whole concept. And Mikey didn't really add anything to it. The whole concept didn't add anything to it. And yeah, a pretty big miss.
Okay, I agree with Alice here. I think that she is basically Abby, but being pushed on the show. And I think this is like, they're to me, they're like exactly in line with each other, but the type of cast member that they are. Kaylee, how did you feel about what you saw tonight from Mikey and Chloe?
It did not do it for me either. I think obviously we know Chloe is a very talented impressionist. That being said, I think as soon as like they started talking, I knew exactly what it was going to be. I knew there was going to be a Drew Barrymore. And it's fine. Like she does it well, but it didn't feel original enough to me to feel like it warranted a spot on tonight's show. You know, maybe if they were performing this like live at a club or something, where they're guests at a live show or something, like maybe that would be fun. But like kind of breaking out the classics. But it felt like that. It felt like it didn't feel new. The device itself didn't feel super fresh. It just didn't do it for me. I kind of glazed over. I kind of missed even Mikey's part because I get kind of mentally checked out.
Well, here's my question is, I mean, we've seen all the newbies on Weekend Update except for Molly. Where's Molly's showcase? And I don't even know if they want to do a showcase on Update, but you know, I feel like we've gotten all the other ones. I don't know. I felt anything could have happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long season ago. I mean, I don't want to necessarily pull this one out and be like, this is the spot where you put Molly in. But yeah, I mean, we think we would all like to see them on Update. So yeah, I guess we'll see. There was nobody cut from Update tonight. So in dress, it was also Ego and then the pair of Chloe and Mikey.
Fair enough.
Tonight. Okay. Then we have 2 sketches post Update. How to Treat Your Man with Minky Carmichael, written by Please Don't Destroy. And here is... Yeah, Heidi introducing.
Oh, no.
You would not have guessed that.
Oh no.
Okay. Well, Heidi as
I don't even think they want you putting that out there.
Well, I guess we know how you feel about it. Well, Heidi introduces Minky, which is which is Marty Short, excuse me. And this is a talk show that I believe originally aired in 1992. And we have Sarah and Ego and Punky all asking different questions. And then Cecily comes in and says that she went on a date with Minky and he has the worst penis she's ever seen. Do we get catchphrases like slams it? And Heidi's catchphrase seems to be, that's just how it is. Andrew, this sort of reminded me a little bit of Roger Brush, like the Fred Armisen character, like written in the same vein, except like, you know, in the Marty Short, like dancing around style. What do you think of this?
Oh, you going to me first?
I mean, you went halfway, so it would feel like a waste to go.
Yeah, fair enough. I thought this was awful. And apparently cut from the Willem Dafoe episode. So another penis sketch for the Willem Dafoe episode. Holy crap. That blew my mind. That was the most amazing part of the sketch, was that the Willem Dafoe had cut penis sketches.
But you know why, right?
Ouch. Sorry.
I'll say, well, Willem Dafoe is like famously, you know, has
a huge hog. Yeah. Yes, I know. You don't put a whole episode around that. And so this made no sense focusing around Marty, and he tried so hard. My God, he busted out the dance that he does, the same dance, the one dance that Martin Short has. He busted it out, and it was nothing. I'm shocked that they pulled this out of the file cabinet for this episode. I was like, oh dear Lord, this is a cut sketch from another episode and they brought it back because it should be cut. This never should have made air. Didn't like it. No, sir.
All right, Kaylee, How did you feel about what you saw tonight from this sketch?
I loved the costumes.
Oh, okay.
I kept waiting for this one to take off, and I just feel like it never quite got there. I mean, Martin Short's commitment was great. It just felt like it just wasn't going anywhere. It was just an awkward talk show that wasn't quite a talk show, and
I was trying to figure out, like, was this a reference to, like, okay, we're throwing it back? It's like, so is this an Arsenio type of thing?
Yeah, Bill in the chat says this was an Arsenio set. So I do see this. I'm taking a look at the Defoe rundown from last year. So last year was called Mingy with the G. They changed it to Minky, I think, this time. Weird change. But yes, you're right. This was definitely cut from last season and then brought back for this one. So I guess they just felt like they had the right host that they wanted to put in the role, and they sketch elevated because of the host.
I mean, Martin tried so hard. I mean, I'll give him that.
Yeah. So, I mean, he definitely did. I would say, like, look, on energy alone, he definitely raises this sketch. Was there much to this? I don't know. I will say, I do enjoy sketches at times that air in the past, like today. Like, I think that is a fun playground to play in. Where it's like,
but did they play in that?
Because you know what it reminds me of, which was the Anya Taylor-Joy episode, that finale from season 46. They did the Hollywood Squares sketch that aired back in the day with all the problematic people. Yeah, and I was like, I thought that the way this sketch was going was basically going to be like that Marty could get away with saying stuff to people that he can't get away with now.
Yeah,
and
maybe. They didn't hang the lampshade on.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's what they were going for, which was like, okay, this gross man can just like get away with shit now that he can't, like, you know, back in the day. And I think that's fun, except I don't know that it fully like played out the way they wanted it to.
Yeah. This is a big old miss for me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to our last sketch of the evening, and that would be Father of the Bride Part 8, written by writers Fowley, O'Sullivan, and Will Steven, where Steve Martin's character from the movie is just financially dried out this time. 8 weddings, can't believe it. Well, Heidi comes in as Annie, who's now 52. Chloe's playing Diane Keaton. We have Marty Short reprising his character from the movie. Bowen Yang's playing Howard. And then in comes former host from last season, who I really would love to see back on the show, Kieran Culkin, who played Matt.
He didn't know it. We didn't know he was in the movie, and he didn't either.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a surprising thing. Yeah, I feel like every time Kieran comes on the show, he tells us something we didn't know about his past, which was when Kevin Nealon lifted him up. Me want uppies. And then Selena Gomez comes in as the wedding performer, like we said, teased earlier in the night that she was in the building. So, Kaley, Father of the Bride Part 8. Are you a fan of the movie? How'd you feel about the sketch?
I have not seen the movie probably since 98. So I feel like if I had seen it more recently, it would maybe hit a little bit differently than it did tonight. I liked it okay. It felt like maybe a little bit cluttered. There were just so many people and moving parts. When Kieran Culkin came in at first, I didn't recognize him. I was like, huh? And then I got it after they hit me over the head. Yeah, I love the concept of the fact that she's been married 8 times now. And I don't think they needed the Selena thing. I think they just wanted to give her something because she was there. I mean, shout out to Selena for being Selena, but it just felt just kind of, a little cluttered. But I thought Steve was really funny in this. Again, I'd have to refamiliarize myself with Martin Short's character in the film because I just don't remember it that well. But yeah, it's like the White Christmas thing, but reversed in my case. I just don't remember the movie well enough to really feel like I fully got it.
Andrew, how do you feel about what you saw tonight?
There was a couple bits of details in this I enjoyed, but it really felt like a sketch that was intended to go up top of the episode. And I don't know,
this was right after update in dress.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then that makes sense. And really, I got to say that, like, I'm struggling with these episodes that have these very, it's like Weekend Update starts at like 12:25 and we get this very, like, 2 sketches at most and the musical guest. And it feels very like, it kind of feels Dick Ebersol-ish. of like, let's just chunk all of our best stuff up top, and then we'll throw Weekend Update on, and then we'll just like cut the rest of the sketches to the bare minimum, and we'll make it to the end of the night. And I think Ellis said that, yes, this one was, cut to the bone. And so bits and bobs of the, Higgins voiceover kind of made me laugh, but I really, if I've seen these films, I don't remember them. And not much was making me laugh. So it kind of is another one where it's like, I'm getting a couple chuckles. The energy's still kind of okay for the night, but mostly a miss for me. Just kind of like, I don't know what happened there. It felt like a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I would say that I'm higher on this than most people, I would think. I really felt like this was probably more fun than funny, but I like genuinely really enjoyed myself watching this. I do like the fact that they went back to like a classic Steve film, and I think that they had the fact that they got Kieran to come in here, I think was good. I think some of the lines were probably better on second watch, especially I do like that one where Steve like mouths the F word to the camera and it's completely muted. Like I think there's some
I couldn't
fun
tell what
stuff.
he was saying.
Yeah, I think he was just like,
I just felt it was a cheap gag. I don't know.
Yeah.
I enjoy this. Do I think this is like a great classic sketch? Definitely not. But I think that this was like a fun one for me. Sometimes sometimes the moments are bigger, and I felt like this was a moment, and I enjoyed having this on the show. So for me, this was okay. But I will say that talking about structure for the night before we get into our ratings for the night as we wrap up our discussion tonight, there were 5 sketches that were cut from dress rehearsal.
God.
So if you'll indulge me, thank you to Ellis, who gave us some information on the sketches.
Hit me with Ellis.
Yeah, let's go over some of the sketches that were cut from Dress tonight. So first up, we have Union Square Holiday Market. This is a sketch without Steve Martin. There were actually 2 that were not, Steve was not in tonight. Additionally, where we have Marty and Heidi, who are playing a couple not from New York City. Michael Longfellow, who was shut out from the show, was in a bunch of stuff in Dress that got cut. Keenan selling keychains. Mikey selling repurposed license plate. Marty and Heidi ask if they cost $1,000. Mikey says they can give them to them. They cost $1,000, but they cost $20, but he can give them to them for $1,000. Their noses bleed as they get more excited. Heidi and Marty's nipples are visible before they start tasting and obsessing over Chloe's jam. Molly also has a booth and comments on the appearances of Heidi and Marty. So basically this dissolves into some weirdness. We'll see if that pops up down the road. Next up, we have a sketch, Chloe Fineman feature, where Chloe's playing Jennifer Coolidge, famously of The White Lotus. And Jennifer Coolidge is impressed by Christmas, commenting on presents, songs, and different aspects of the holidays, opening holiday presents, including the one Jewish toy from Target, blowing a menorah and saying happy birthday. Michael Longfellow plays the piano for Jingle Bells, and Chloe asks if he wrote the song. This may end up on YouTube. We'll see if that goes there. Next up, we have Balenciaga boardroom, where they want to move the brand image away from S&M and bondage, along with people holding bears. Keenan leads the meeting with Chloe, Heidi, and Michael at the table. Marty and Steve propose different concepts for the rebrand, but almost all of them feature bears at the end. I guess a lot of bear talk tonight. Bears at the end, including a new look for Peanuts. The last pitch features Paddington, who was arrested for indecent exposure because he wasn't wearing pants on the subway. We then get a poster for Paddington 3, Swaggington. Okay, 2 more from dress rehearsal. The next one is a wedding hologram where Andrew pays to have a hologram of Chloe's dad, played by Steve Martin, to give a speech from heaven. Steve was on home base, and the hologram projection was through a green screen. Andrew paid for this by selling his house. This seems to be like our Andrew Dismuke sketch that was cut from the night. Steve alludes to Andrew cheating and not being faithful, and Chloe not liking the stuff she'll end up seeing on his phone, which includes lots of twerking on TikTok. Marty also makes an appearance as Abraham Lincoln and questions about why he's so short. Marty also yells that he was tall for the 1800s. Finally, blooper reel. We see the final scene of a movie starring Andrew, Steve, and Marty. Bowen plays the director, and JJ is a boom mic guy. After the final scene ends, the credits start rolling and bloopers are shown on the side. The first blooper is innocent, but all 3 actors start berating JJ and his boom mic. Originally, it's Marty, then Andrew, then Steve, and they compare the boom mic to having a rat in your face. Bowen ends up firing JJ at the end. So that is blooper reel. Those are 5 sketches that were cut from dress rehearsal tonight. We'll see, like the Willem Dafoe episode, if something pops up later on in the season. So we'll talk about it.
I missed a section of that, but that all sounds terrible. To be honest. The well cut.
You don't know unless you see them. So yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Those are some shaky concepts.
Yeah,
Maybe
well,
the
here,
execution would be better than the
according to the
concept.
man himself, Ellis says the Jennifer Coolidge and the Blooper Reel were the ones that he really felt like should have gotten on. He didn't really miss much with the other ones. Okay, so let's see what happens.
All right,
Just
all
good.
right. I'll trust
Yeah.
Ellis. I'll trust
Yeah, you never know.
Ellis.
Anyways, thanks for the info, buddy. We always appreciate that. And let's wrap up our discussion by rating tonight's episode that we saw on screen out of 10. So, chat, I'm going to ask for your opinions as well. Kaley, I'll start with you. How did you feel out of 10 tonight?
I'm going to give it, because I feel like it was a mixed bag. The hosts were great. I would give it maybe like a 7.5 to 8 in that range.
Okay.
7.75 maybe.
All right, Andrew.
Oh boy. I mean, I feel like it was almost tragic, watching this with the folks on the That Week in SNL Discord, where I was like, you know what? Hey, 2 weeks in a row, good episodes. Halfway through update, and then Chloe and Mikey came out, and then the rest of the episode kind of bombed, to be honest. And so I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5, which I don't know. What is that?
It's a 7.
Is that a 7? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll
man.
go with the
Math.
7.
Math ain't
and
math.
that's yes.
Yeah. I'm actually
But
of-
that does mean like that's adding in the Brandi Carlile bonus points for me. She really, like, the musical guest helped things throughout. So yeah, that also does help with the 7.
Yeah,
But
I don't count
honestly,
music in my ratings.
yeah,
But-
I know, and you're stupid because the music's there, and it at least accounts for like 6 minutes to 7 minutes to 8 minutes of the show. But yeah, to be honest, kind of a little bit of a letdown. I think the Keke Palmer episode was honestly a little bit stronger for me. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I haven't listened to music since Prince died. So how about that? Yeah.
I listen to music. I just don't I don't embrace new artists as much as I should. Okay? Don't take this out of context.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say tonight was a 7 out of 10, regardless of the music, because I didn't feel like this was this wasn't a classic episode, though it had some classic sketches. I think, like I said, Marty and Steve elevated almost everything that they were in. I really enjoyed having them on the show. And let's just celebrate the fact that we got Steve Martin and Maureen Short here tonight. Like, how fun was that? So for me, writing wasn't superb. I probably agree with Andrew that the writing was extremely strong last week for Keke Palmer. But for me, I had a lot of fun tonight. I think I will go back and, besides for the podcast, we'll go back and rewatch this on my own time as well, because I really just so excited to have them in the building. The monologue that, pre-tape we got with Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah, the Scrooge pre-tape
yeah.
is that's in the pantheon for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think, you're
Of
always
bad
going to...
dreams.
Yeah, you're always going to remember this episode for those moments. So I think that's what stands out for me when we go back and we think about the Steve and Marty episode from 2022. All right. Well, we're going to talk about this episode a lot more this week on the podcast. So excited to present to you our coverage for the rest of the week, which starts with our roundtable on Monday night, where we're going to talk about the legacy of Steve Martin and Martin Short, why SNL would want to have them on the show, and our favorite sketches from the night. We'll dive deep into those. By the Numbers is happening back on a Wednesday night, where we're going to have special guest Bill Kenny with Mike and Nicole. They'll talk about all the numbers from the week. We're getting very close to the halfway point of the season, so we'll look at those statistics and how they match up throughout the season, comparing cast member to cast member. And then, of course, on a Thursday, we will be live for our patron feedback show to talk about everything from this episode, answer all of your questions, and then look ahead to next week with Austin Butler and now musical guest Lizzo, where we will be live for the Hot Take show right after that Christmas episode of Saturday Night Live. So if you're going home for Christmas, maybe you're at school, or you want to go see your family, wherever you are, I hope you'll join us and celebrate the Christmas episode right after it airs next Saturday night. It'll be fun to be with you, and we should have a special show along the way. Also want to shout out SNL Stories, which came out yesterday, and I hope it didn't get lost in the mix with all the shows we're doing, but we spoke to Mike Streeter, who authored a book on Tom Schiller. It was really, really fun to get to hear all the stories about his interviewing Tom Schiller, Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, Lorne Michaels for the creation of the book. So that came out yesterday, and I think we're working on an SNL Stories for this week that's going to be really special. But in case the guest you never know. Some things we'll see. I'm gonna refrain from announcing it, but I'll tell the patrons as soon as we get the go ahead on that. So,
Nice.
yeah, very excited for that. Kaley, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Where can the listeners check out everything you got going on?
You can find me on Instagram at ZE Kaley, Kaley Morrison. Yeah, check me out there. I'm doing some characters and other fun stuff. So don't do the Twitter so much anymore. We're not supposed to, I hear.
Yeah.
It was never my thing. But yeah, Instagram, find me on there.
Awesome. All right. Some guy that I know that does Twitter a lot is Mr. Andrew Dick. So where can you find your Twitter account?
Well, That Week in SNL, that's the show that I do. If you enjoy me and John hacking it up, I mean, we just did our Drew Barrymore episode from 1982. But since
I hear
then,
Chloe does a really good impression of Drew Barrymore, by the way.
yeah, I've heard of that. I don't know. I still yet to see it. No, that's too mean. But anyway, yeah. So that was the last episode we released. But on Friday, we just put out an episode about the Richard Pryor, Gil Scott Heron episode from the season 1 of SNL. It's the 7th episode. And in private chat, Jon Schneider was like, Andrew, mute if you got a cough. If you want to hear the feverish energy of 3 people who are in the grips of madness for nearly 3 hours discussing the Richard Pryor show. That is what we've got going on for you over at That Week in SNL. It's our longest and most chaotic episode of That Week in SNL, which is really quite the achievement. And we're still not yet closing out the year. So we got some more episodes coming up. We got the Patreon, That Week in SNL over at Patreon. And yeah, come check us out. If you like me babbling, there's plenty more hours of this crap.
Definitely go check that out. And I'm not sure if it's too early to say it, but happy holidays to everybody out there, to Kaley
Yes,
and
indeed.
Andrew
Yeah.
as well.
Happy
Appreciate
holidays, guys.
Yeah, appreciate you staying up with us and making us your home for SNL after coverage. So appreciate all of that for Kaley, for Andrew, and for everybody in our chat tonight. My name is Jon Schneider from the Saturday Night Network. We will see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.